When I knew I was going to be speaking to you tonight, I started thinking about the role of a coach, because that's what this is about. Most of you here are coaches. There's a big coaches clinic going on. I'm here teaching a clinic, and the people that get inducted have some connection with coaching. You know, if they're a wrestler as an athlete, most athletes coach in some way. I'm no different than that, and I've found my greatest gratification coming from coaching young men who want to aspire for greatness. And it doesn't matter what their talent level is. What matters is their heart and what they want to accomplish. I had the opportunity to be involved with a lot of great coaches throughout my life. I wouldn't be where I am today without great coaches. Dwayne Clevin is one of them. You know, when I came to the University of Wisconsin, he recruited me out of Ohio to come to the University of Wisconsin. And really, when I look back in my career, I mean, there probably couldn't have been a better fit and better place for me to be at, because I accomplished everything that I wanted. Thinking about the great coaches in my life when I was in high school, I tell the story to all the wrestlers that I coach and all the people that want to ask me questions about, you know, success and how do you get to be, you know, successful. I tell them that when I started wrestling, I started in 9th grade. And I wrestled on the freshman team that year. And my next year, my sophomore year, I made the varsity. My record was 11 wins and 8 losses and 3 ties. Not a very good record. But it was my coach that guided me through the next 2 years of my high school career. Next year I went undefeated and won the state title, beating the defending state champion. And I tell wrestlers, I tell kids that, you know, did I become Superman over that summer? No. What really changed? Well, what changed was my attitude. And my attitude changed because of the coach that was in my life at the time. And I'm friends with him to this day. Most athletes still remain friends with their coaches. It doesn't matter how long or how old they get, they still remain friends, and they appreciate that time in their life, because typically that will set the tone for, at least for me, it set the direction of the rest of my life. Dick Deppenbrock decided that I was going to be a good wrestler for some reason. He decided that before I even decided it. And if you've ever had anyone tell you this phrase, sometimes they care about you more than you care about yourself, and you have to think about that statement for a while, but all great achievement comes with great people around you. I haven't been in an induction ceremony where people give thanks for the honor that they're getting, but they also talk about the great people in their life that got them there. And the coaches in my life pushed me before I even knew I wanted to be pushed. They helped me form the goal before I even knew I even wanted the goal myself. My high school coach started to call me champ before I even knew that I was even going to be good at wrestling. And he started to make me feel and believe that I was going to be good. And all of you that are parents out there, we all do it. I have 3 kids myself. I tell my kids they can be anything they want. I tell them they can be great. We all say that. But typically we write our parents off because we know that they have to say that because they're parents. But coaches don't really have to say that. And when you start to build that credibility factor between that coach-athlete relationship, you start to believe. And great coaches inspire athletes to do great things. We've recently watched the Olympics, right? I mean, how many of you were glued to your TV sets watching that, all those great performances? Well, all those athletes had great coaches. We heard the stories about Gabby Douglas and that great performance. And because her story was put out there and we all know the story, we know that she traveled great distances and lived, I think in Iowa, from the East Coast, just so that she could be around a great coach to get her to the podium. Now, did they know that she was going to win a gold medal then? Nobody can predict the future. They know they were training for that goal. But look at where she is now and the sacrifices that she made. She's just one example. I'm another example. I can remember a very good friend of mine that her father was a grandmaster in Taekwondo, and had a martial arts school in Madison, Wisconsin, actually. Some of you may even know the PAX Academy. I mean, you may know that academy, and the son is now running it. But the father died about a year and a half ago, and when he was in hospice, right before he died, I was there, and I saw all these men that were coming to pay homage to him because of all the great things that he did for them in their lives when they were young. And it was amazing. I thought right then at that moment when I saw this, how important it is to mentor people. Prior time in my life, I was in business. I owned a car dealership, and we sold a lot of cars, and we were successful. But when I saw this man, this great man there laying in bed, when these men were coming in, I mean, it was like no less than about a dozen men that came in. Some were flying in just because they heard that Dr. Pack was kind of going to be dying in a couple weeks. They wanted to make sure they got back just to see this great man one last time. And I thought, wow, that whatever he did in their lives carried with them and carried so much weight that they knew that they wanted to be with him one last time. And I kind of thought to myself, well, on my deathbed, no one's going to care how many cars I sold at the dealership, and all that. So I thought, well, this is really important. It's important to touch people's lives. And I made a commitment to get back into wrestling, get back into coaching, and get back into the thing that I really had a great passion about. Moving into another great coach in my life, and we've all heard of Dan Gable. Dan Gable played a huge role in my life. Of course, he was a great coach, great mentor to a lot of athletes. I was just one of the athletes that he mentored. But without him, I don't think I would have won my world titles that I won. Because he took a special interest in me. I can remember times when we get done with practice, and everybody was tired. But I asked Dan, did he want to wrestle some more? Now that I'm coaching, and when an athlete comes to me and asks, Lee, can we work out a little bit more? I think to myself, back in those days when I did that with Gable, even though I don't want to, I go a little bit more because the young man is asking to go. I believe that those times I spent with him like that provided the environment for me to be a great wrestler. And then the last person I'll talk about a little bit is Dwayne Clubman, because he's in Wisconsin, he's in the Hall of Fame too, and he recruited me. And when I came out of high school, there's a lot of great athletes come out of high school. But when you make that transition to college, not all athletes that are great high school athletes make that transition successfully. And I would have to give, a large part of the guidance that I got was from the head wrestling coach. He's the leader of the team. He's the guy that sets the tone. The practice sets the tone in the direction of our lives. When we're there, 17, 18. I was 17 when I went to college. And we had our run-ins, if those of you who know Dwayne, and you've probably heard some of the stories. But he guided me like a parent, like a father would guide you. And, of course, for those of you who have sons and some of the fathers here, you have those moments when you bump heads a little bit, but you get through it. And what you hope for is that your son will come to you later in his life and thank you for all the things that he's done for you. And I've had many opportunities to do that for Dwayne and all the other great coaches in my life. So for all of you that are here to honor the people that are going to be inducted tonight, they have some connection with wrestling, whether they were athletes, coaches, or both, or just great contributors to the sport of wrestling. I honor them and I give them all my thanks that they're doing this, because I know that they've shaped other people's lives like my life was shaped by coaching. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the evening.